Hey everybody, Jeff Peterson here, and I have one incredible guest today. You aren't going to believe it. I have Mr. Todd Terry with us. Hey Todd, how are you?
Hey Jeff, good. Thanks, man.
All right. Well, first off, some people might not even know who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself, just a quick bio.
Yeah, wow. That's Todd Terry. I've been an actor for about 35 years. I'm from Dallas, Texas originally, and I lived like on the outskirts of Dallas, and been married for 26 years, have 2 boys. My whole family are actors in some aspect. You know, I love doing what I do, and I especially love doing film or projects that are related to the gospel. So that's
well, you've been in some big stuff. Breaking Bad is one that they can currently watch. You've the Vindication series and the movie Running the Bases. Is there what other things that might people be able to catch you in at the moment? That's out there?
Yeah, so early on, I did a lot of series television, Walker, Texas Ranger, just Drop Dead Diva, Dallas, Chase, shows like that. Fear the Walking Dead is one I did in the last few years. And then over the last, I would say 5 years, I've done a lot more film. And I love film too, because, you know, it feels real concentrated and you're there for a specific period of time. And I've always loved film. But yeah, that's right now. In the past, probably 6 months, I've worked on a film called Disciples in the Moonlight with Brett Varvel, and Brett was the lead in Running the Bases, and he directed and also acted in the film, and I cannot wait to see that film. It just, everything I saw on the screen just was beautiful, the lighting, everything.
That is great. Disciples in the Moonlight. I've heard about that, and I know we don't know when it's coming out, but that also stars my friend Melissa as well. And tell us just a quick synopsis. What is that movie about? I've heard a little bit of it.
Yeah, I don't know how detailed I can get with it. Because I'm always nervous of saying too much about it. But it's a dystopian type, you know, film. You know, as if something in the future happened. You know, it's about Christians in the Bible, and as if the Bible had been altered. I'll just give you that much.
Right.
Without being too detailed, because you know, I don't know how quiet they want to be on certain things as far as, you know, revealing what the storylines are about.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it sounds really good.
Yeah, I mean, it was really engaging to read, but just to be there and see what they were producing, it was just it was an amazing experience. So I'm real excited about that one.
When you met Mr. Brett Varvel did you know him before Running the Bases? Is that where you met?
No, let's see. I originally met him. So I didn't meet him on this. He was in American Underdog, and I actually was supposed to be in that film, and I got COVID while I was down there. And it was during that big snowstorm a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And so I knew he was on it, and I thought, hey, I'll get to meet him, but that didn't happen. I feel like it was something else, but he's been in Vindication, which was our 3rd season, which is not out yet.
Right.
Golly, I wish I could remember. I feel like there was another time I met him, and I can't remember what it is. But yeah, I've been fortunate to work with him.
Now, Running the Bases, how did you get that part? You kind of play antagonist, would you say? How would you call your character, and how'd you get that role?
Yeah, definitely an antagonist. It's like early in my career, I played a lot of the bad guys, the antagonists, and then I started playing more protagonist type characters. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to be able to play a character like that, because, you know, there's something in screenwriting called the flat arc, and a story like Running the Bases, like a flat arc story where the lead character, in a sense, he doesn't change. He's always that pillar, and then everybody around him kind of changes. And that was what happened to my character, and that's so gratifying as an actor, because you have a really
right,
valley, and a mountaintop, so to speak. But yeah, it was a fun character to play.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick look at, in case anybody doesn't know what is Running the Bases. Now, I know it's won awards already, and it's also now on DVD. But let's take a quick look at it.
Check it out. You guys seen this?
What's with the running of the.
My Uncle Josh had a heart defect, and he died during a game. So my dad runs the bases in honor of God and the memory of his brother.
I have seen a lot of baseball seasons come and go around here, but there's something special about this one.
And what do you think so special? You.
Your job description at this school reads coach, not pastor.
You are a disruptor.
Our phones are ringing nonstop.
That religious running thing you do, that ends now. You got it?
I feel like I'm being forced to choose between providing for my family and doing what God called me to do.
This whole town is looking at you. This means something.
Do what I cannot do, Father. This team is yours.
That, I tell you, the trailer itself is powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, it is truly put together masterpiece, and that's why I watched it. I'm like, whoa! I mean, it just grabs you, and I just had to watch it. I'm like, it's like you said, to me, in my mind, the best movies take you on a roller coaster journey.
Yeah.
And I don't really like real roller coasters, but I love the roller coaster journey type in movies. It is so intense. Even the first part of it with Raphael in it, it gets you, and then it takes you on that ride, and that in itself it blows my mind. What was it like for you as an actor? And I know you watched many of your different your own things, but seeing this one when you've seen it for the first time, what was that like?
Well, it was such a pleasant surprise, because you never know. You film something, you never know what it's going to be. And for, Jimmy and Marty, what they produced was spectacular. And you just, and that's, baseball films are hard to do, to make them really engaging, because you have so many, you have the action aspect, keep that going, the story and all this. They did such a great job. And I came out of the theater going, that had everything that a movie needs. It had the comedy, the drama, the heart feels. The story was very nicely done. And they did such a nice job tying certain things in, like the hat. I love the hat, where it's turning around the hat, and how that played between the young and the old.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say enough good things about what they did with that film. So I'm excited, that it's now on Pureflix, and I'm doing an interview in the next month about that as well. But it's
that's so cool. I know I'm not into sports at all. I'm lucky to know who are, the Titans are, kind of thing. I don't know nothing about sports. And when I first seen it, I just seen pictures of it before I seen the trailer. Like a sports movie, I'm not into sports. But then I watched the trailer and I watched the movie. You don't have to like sports at all.
Yeah, no, not.
I know hardly anything about baseball, and I loved it. And I'm just like, you don't have to love. That's why I tell people, if you're not into baseball, watch this movie. If you're into baseball, watch this movie.
Yeah,
both. It hits on every level, like you said.
Yeah,
it is just incredible of a movie. Your main thing, you're the lead actor now in this series called Vindication, and it's been out. It's had 2 seasons, and a third one is coming out here soon. Let's check this out. Just a couple snippets of Vindication 1 and 2.
Have you heard from them? Did you try to reach out to you at all?
Just stop it. Stop being a cop for just 1 minute.
I can't.
Guys, move.
Hey, you can't take my phone.
Watch me.
You have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Do you even want to catch the guy?
I don't understand. It's just unusual.
Maybe God is trying to tell you something.
How do I make it stop?
I am so proud of you, but maybe just leave us out of it, okay?
We love you, Father. Continue to lead us, guide us, and direct us. Amen.
That is something. I've binge watched. I've had to binge watch the first and second seasons, and it's the story from first season to second season. You know, it is awesome. I got a few questions, but my first one is: you played Detective Travis? Have you ever had a Detective Travis moment in your own life where you're like, in your own personal life?
Yeah, well, Travis, the character of Travis, at least how he starts, he can be a bit of a curmudgeon. I've used that word before about him. He has a way of doing things, and when people disrupt that, but that's kind of his epiphany at the end of the season one, is that, there's grace in the midst of all his, lawfulness on how he sees the world. But yeah, I would say I can be a lot like that. I guess you'd have to ask my wife that question. but yeah, I mean, I'm always, it's like if I was going to do something else, and my wife would say the same thing about her, she'd probably be a private detective. And I think I would too, just have this innate sense of wanting to figure things out and discover the truth in the midst of the murkiness. And so,
Right. Now, how did Vindication? How did you get involved in the very first? Obviously you auditioned. How'd you find out about it, and how'd you get the lead role? How did it start?
Yeah, so it's a really cool story because I don't think it happens a lot. But I was at a Christian media arts event. I think that's the name of it, and I apologize. But I think at that specific one, I was speaking about a movie I did called Beyond the Farthest Star. And Jared O'Flaherty, who is the director of Vindication, came up after the meeting and said, "Hey, I want to do a short film. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to do it, talk about it, whatever." And so it was a really clever short film, and we shot it. Ben Davies, myself, and several others in the cast. And I apologize for not saying names right now, but so we did that, and probably, I don't know, a year later, we're in Austin, Texas at a film festival. And Jared said, "I'm thinking about turning it into a TV series." And I'm like, "Really?" And so that's how it started. I mean, in the beginning, that standalone episode was, I don't think, ever meant to be anything that was an extension. So sometimes I've heard some people say, there's a couple episode ramp up time to really get into the storyline because some of the family members aren't in that beginning story,
right?
That beginning episode. So that's basically the origin of it, and it's turned into 3 seasons, and it's been a huge blessing, and I've loved, being that character.
So it kind of started from a short.
Yeah, just a short. That's all it was.
Now tell us just a little bit about your own faith story, how you came to Jesus, and how that looked.
Sure. So I was brought up in the church. I went to, church as a kid. I was baptized as a kid. And then, during my teenage years, I did some FCA stuff. I was in Christian camps, Kanakuk Camp, Missouri. So I remember back on those times as having, wanting to know God, but constantly going into bad behavior. And then when I was in my, early 20s, I kind of went off. I'd say my family was more into some kind of new age thinking. And I kind of experimented, toyed with different philosophies, ideas, things like that, more, along the lines of Buddhism. And then by the time I was, 28 or 29, I had, some things in my life that were just causing me not to be happy. I was just not at peace, and I can't really say it was a specific moment. It was a gradual moment, but I can look back on it and go, God was bringing me to this point. And I, started going to this Bible study with a pastor who's passed away now. His name was Jim Borchert. And God just spoke through him to me so many times that it opened my eyes. Also, I'd met my wife at that time. We were kind of initially arguing the difference between, Jesus and Buddha and all that, because my philosophy was like, there's not one way. And that's kind of the time in my life where everything came together, and I realized, you know what, I've been wrong. And what I had known as a kid was true. There's that verse that says, raise them in the way they should go and they'll never depart. I'm butchering that, obviously, but that was my experience.
And I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but it's, And how does your faith play a role now in projects like you do? Obviously, faith-based projects, even Vindication, you don't have to be an ultra conservative Christian to even enjoy the show, but there is a little bit of that in the show. But my question is, how does your faith play into what you take on?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I would say, more discerning in what I'm willing to do. I mean, sometimes it's just turning an audition down because I know, if I got it, I wouldn't want to be it. And sometimes it's a hard decision because sometimes I'm like, well, maybe. And I've had experiences where I've said yes and I got the part and I wish I hadn't. And then I've had, experiences where I auditioned and just prayed about it and had faith that I was in the right place. But yeah, it's it's a case by case thing, because in most things you audition for, you don't know the whole story,
right? And
you're kind of going in it in faith. It's like, okay, well. So anyway, it's a hard one to answer because it's really a case by case thing. But yeah, I've done projects that I wish I hadn't, especially early on in my faith walk.
And I'm sure a lot of actors and actresses, fall into that same thing regardless. I'm curious, what kind of character is the most challenging for you to do, and what's the kind of character that's comes the most easiest to you?
Golly, that's good. I think that's almost impossible to answer, because for me, it's just getting involved in any character. So I'm a big believer. I'm not becoming somebody else. It's me in that situation and my life experience that couples with who that person is. Because I think when you just try to put on a skin or a mask on who this person is, it's not that engaging. It's got to have emotional life and all those things. And there's some tricks of the trade on how to substitute, the fact that you're not a murderer or whatever.
Right.
But I would say, honestly, this last character in Disciples in the Moonlight for me was such a great experience, because they allowed us as actors to really kind of make the dialogue our own. And it really forced me to get into the story and really plot point things out on where this character's going and why is he going there in a bigger way than I'd ever really done before. Because a lot of times you don't have time, and I had some time to really do it. And I would spend hours walking and just meditating on those words and who this guy was that really, for me, brought it to life. So that, as an actor, that's the most engaging thing, is when I have time to really, digest it and allow it to have life.
Well, like in the Vindication series, just watching it, you can tell when you're watching something that, it depends on how much stuff people binge and watch. You can tell when something comes easy, playing a role, and when something isn't. And, if I was to meet you and didn't know you were an actor and just you told me you were a detective, it'd be believable right off the top, I mean, without even knowing any of that. I think, at least my opinion, you seem to fit that role well, even though that's not you, it's the character you play. But you know, and I think a lot of you bring that to it. In the Vindication, tell me about that character and his struggle. It seems to struggle with faith, but it's growing. Am I right on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in the beginning, you don't know where he's, you know,
where he's at.
Yeah, really where he's at. He's just living his life, doing the things the way he is. And then there are situations that come up specifically with his daughter and things like that really test his faith and his control, his law, his grace, if you want to put it in more biblical terms. But his wife is kind of the anchor in the family, and she's the reason why he goes, you know what, my way's not working. And it's not said that cleanly, obviously. It's just that's how I see his arc. And then season 2 becomes more of him working it out, kind of a sanctification moment by moment throughout that. And then season 3, I won't say anything. You'll find out if you watch it. But that's always interesting to me because I want to see characters struggle. I don't want things to be clean. It's interesting to see that. But what you were saying earlier about the whole detective thing, you could see me as that. It makes me think, okay, why do people see that? I played a lot of detectives, or
maybe that's
in that, and some of it I think is just because I naturally have this. I don't want to. It's not defensiveness, but just this really like skepticism about myself that I think plays for that kind of character.
Right.
Sorry, I'm just having a moment of confession.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think that's kind of why I kind of lean toward those type of characters at time, because somebody who's searching for something.
Right. Well, even like in Running the Bases, totally different character, completely. But you know, the character arc just in that movie alone is incredible. You know. And that's what makes it enjoyable.
Yeah, and what I love too, and again, Marty and Jimmy were great about letting me kind of craft some stuff and extend the story. There's in the baseball dugout where the character Michael Jameson has that kind of breaking down moment. They allowed me to kind of mess with that dialogue to really kind of how it really related to my character story with my wife and all that, which really helped me as an actor because it allowed me to go to a place that I don't think I could have gone to, because I just wanted to make sure I understood where that guy came from. Because we're all, we've all been that guy in some aspect in our lives where we just are angry at things not turning out the way we thought they should, yet God has another plan for us.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Todd, for coming on here and telling us a little bit more about who Todd Terry is and what you have going on and a little of your faith. I really appreciate it. And we're going to look for you in upcoming, all kinds of upcoming projects. Disciples in the Moonlight sounds awesome. Just one last thing I'm going to show, and then we're going to call it. One quick picture. I know there's a lot of pictures out there of season 3, and here's just one of them. Thanks again, Todd. Have a great one.
Thanks, Jeff.